I can't hear you. Start. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, you can start now.
Okay. Peace, family. Peace, warriors. This is Dr. Sadiki Che Baye, the host of the Men's Room Talk Show, coming to you live every Tuesday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is the place, family, that you're going to hear the voices of our black men, our warriors, our leaders, our teachers, our guides and providers. Too often the black man has gotten a bad rap, and we are the cause of all things that are not good, including slavery. But we want to, here on the men's room, we want to set the record straight. We want to take charge of our own narrative and not listening to somebody else's nonsense, especially the ones who created the problem. So today, family, we have a special guest here. I appreciate this brother. The brother is Brother Marc Winston Polite, and I'd like to welcome you, brother.
Thank you, Dr. Sadiki. I'm honored to be on the show.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, brother, for taking the time to give us an opportunity to acknowledge you, brother, and the way that we need to as a brotherhood. And to me, family, to me, warrior, that there's no better love than for a man to love his brother. We have to get along with our own gender first. The brother's not even worthy of a relationship with another gender until you start loving your brother. It's all about loving your own gender. That's the rites of passage, the brotherhood. And they have divided us up and separated us, but we must come back together as the beehive. You mess with one, you got to deal with all of us. So family, with that in mind, I want to present to you our warrior, Brother Marc Polite. First, before we get into it, we want to get a little bit on the background of this brother. Can you share with us, brother, where are you from and what is your educational background?
Okay. So, a little bit about me. I am from New York City, Harlem to be particular, born and raised in Harlem. And my educational background, I went to college. I majored in political science in undergraduate school. And for grad school, I majored in history.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So was it your original purpose of going to school was for history and political science? I think you said, or did you find that out after you started college?
Well, when I went into college as an undergrad, I knew from from when I came in that I wanted to do political science because the reason I chose that is because I wanted to understand political systems and go into that and understand what you know what we are up against and how to get things because pardon me, if you look at what people say politics is, people say politics is the allocation of resources, and politics decides who gets what and how much, and it also decides who doesn't get anything. So my my purpose in studying politics was to understand why um, some of us are undeserved, while others get more than their fair share. And my thing was, if I could understand that, I could understand a little bit better about how not only the country works, but how the world works as well.
Yes, sir. The dynamics. Yes, sir. That's great. Well, who inspired you? I see that you are a great author and you have some serious books that I'm going to ask you about a little bit later. but we want to get into the inner workings of how did you become the way you are right now. But from the start, who inspired you to write?
Hmm. I would
Yeah.
say, that's a good question. I would say when it comes to my inspirations and is basically comes from my studies. Like in especially in high school and especially undergrad, I read a lot of Black literature. I read Langston Hughes, James Baldwin, Richard Wright, and in particular, like I, I kind of focused towards the Black male writers because of the 50s and 60s and everything, and it's because their voices were authentic, and like I'm more partial towards Richard Wright if I had to rank it, in terms of who I who I kind of in a sense mirror myself after in a sense, because you know he he had the southern experience, but went to the city as well. So it's kind of like the reverse of of my experience. Even though I was born and raised in Harlem, but my family's from the South. So I never wanted to lose connection with it, and I still try to keep a connection down south in one way, shape, or form. But anything that has to do with the Great Migration, from the 1930s to the 1960s, people who talked about those issues really inspired me because if I to me like writing is about telling the story of not only yourself but your community as well. So I would say that if I had to really judge it, and if you had to give me one, two, three, I'd say Richard Wright, Langston Hughes, and James Baldwin.
Wow, wow, that's deep. That's three warriors, brother, and they true warriors. And not only that, they're not even hand-picked warriors. See, we have a lot of hand-picked warriors, brother, hand-picked so-called leaders, and that's why we have to slow our pace down to really get into the dynamic of things because, just because you have a black a face of color, that don't mean that you have our interests at heart. Because when you look at history, brother, a whole lot of things went on, brother. And when you're not used to having anything, you are easily to be bought. You'll sell your soul in a minute. And that's why the most important thing is to study. We got to slow our pace down and get into the dynamic of studying. Studying is a skill, so we got to go into our labs and have more than one resource and compare it and flip it and so forth and so on, and dive into it.
Mm.
Because we used to be deep divers, now we're shallow divers. We used to be deep rooted, but now we're shallow rooted. That's why when anything come on the scene, it blow us all over the place. So we got to get back to our roots, family. So, brother, I appreciate you. Share with us. How did you begin your writing, and what was your first publication?
Okay, so to kind of to track my writing journey, I have to go really back to, I mean, if we're talking about recently, right? I don't want to go back to high school. That's a little bit too much. But if I had to track my writing journey, it really came from grad school, because the things that I studied, I just wanted to learn more about. And when I do mention to you that I did choose history as a major for the grad school program, because I realized that I did political science and I had to go back and realize, wait a minute, I don't know as much history as I need to know. So I went back and I actually chose to study the period of African decolonization, and like basically the period from the 1945 to 1960. All of the uh, African countries receiving their freedom from colonialism and fighting for their freedom from colonialism. After World War II, and I studied that 15-year block of history, and it was like really eye opening. So you know, and I didn't want to continue on in academia, but I still wanted to write. So shortly after I graduated, finished grad school, I got motivated to start a blog, and that blog is called politeonsociety.com. And that was really my first modern training grounds for me writing on a regular basis. And I garnered an audience from that. I would write blog posts about different topics going on in the Black community. I would cover events going in Harlem, things that happened at the Apollo, things that happened at the Schomburg Cultural Center, like one of the main research libraries in Harlem. I'm sure a lot of your audience is familiar with these places, and I use it as a way to cover things that's going on in the community that may not have made it to the more mainstream outlets. And through that, after 4 years of blogging, I decided to branch out from my blog into self-publishing. And to coming back to your question about my first publication technically is a book of poetry that I decided to self-publish, which which came out in 2013, which is about 11 years ago now. And that first publication is called "The Poetic Ruminations of Mr. Born Nice." It's a play on my name. It's a play. It's basically a play on my last name, which you know I I get a lot of kind of jokes about, but sometimes the best way to turn things around is flip a joke into something that people remember, like, oh, polite, born nice, and I laid that down, and it hit, it resonated. So I was like, okay, and then with the whole poetry thing, I kind of segued from blogging into writing my own work. So I know that's kind of a long answer, but that's where the origin of my modern writing detail came from. So
Oh, that's beautiful. Hey, thank God for your parents, brother. For that beautiful last name, polite. Yes, sir. There's a lot of strength and a lot of energy in that. Knowing the kind of people that we are, and we are polite people. And the mistake we made, well, we ended up too polite, started trusting these other people. You know what I mean? So we have to really slow our pace down and really check out the reality of things, because everything is not always what it is when you're looking at it through your physical eye. There's always more to it. That's the physical eye just gives you the surface of it. But we got to use this inner eye to dive into it to see the reality of it. And that's why we have to see man means mind. And we got to use our minds to dive into it. You can't even be spiritual if your mind is not right, because the mind is the gateway to the spiritual. So we have to get our minds right. Man means mind, but unfortunately, all males are not men. So we have to understand that the key to it all is to know who you are. Because if you know who you are, you know who God is, and you also know who everybody else is, because it's all energy and it's vibrating from a high frequency when you're dealing on that spiritual level. So tell us, brother, I thank you for sharing that with me. So what did you enjoy most about writing?
hmm, I would say that about what really pulls me in about writing is the fact that I can express myself in the way that I want to express myself without being uh, censored or pushed to the side or say, oh, change this, change that. I can express it exactly how I see it without the filter. Now, don't get me wrong. I do believe in decorum, right? There's no reason for me in my the way I see things, right? Like, there's no reason for me to go around cursing people out, say that you're this, that, and the third, and you're the scum of the earth. That's not my vibe. But what I will do is if I believe that I see something is not right, I'll just have to say, you know what? No, this isn't right. It's not fair that certain neighborhoods, are getting people are getting pushed out of their places of residence. It's not fair that, the cost of living is ridiculous and people being pushed from their homes financially when don't have enough to make the rent and everything like that. It's not fair that the schools are underfunded. It's not fair that kids don't have the proper grounding in English and critical thinking and science and math. It's so much that's not right. So in a sense, what motivates me is a sense of justice and saying that what no, we need resources too. Like you can't starve somebody and expect excellence. You just can't do that. That's not fair. It's like saying that if I'm starting a race, I have to start at one point and everybody else is starting ahead of me and I'm all the way back here and you expect me to win. Like this isn't right. So it's a sense of justice out of which I write, and just to point out this disparities, and along with that comes the finger pointing, because as anyone who's been an activist on any level knows, that the unfortunate reality is that the person that points out a problem is made to be the problem. Like people will get upset with you for me pointing out a disparity and saying that, why don't we have a place that serves fresh fruits and vegetables uptown like we do downtown? And people get mad at me for saying it. I'm just like, you're not supposed to say it. And then but it's true though. So I guess the main thing that I like to say is that everybody likes critical thinking until they disagree with something you have to say, and that's my way of saying that, okay, you may like what I'm saying, but until you run up against the reality of what we have to face every day and have to navigate, walking through these mean streets and dealing with, like all the things that we have to deal with as a people, and dealing with the rest of the world, mind you, because we're not immune from anything that's going out in the rest of the country and the rest of the world. We have to deal with all these things at the same time. So, I know it's a kind of a long answer, but that's kind of what motivates me to talk about these things and to delve into these issues that a lot of people just tend to shy away from.
That's true. That's true, brother. See, we have been made to be more emotional than thinking. And so we have to be careful and understand etymology, because by the time we get words and terms, it's been flipped, diluted, mixed, and all this kind of stuff. So a lot of times we be arguing over ignorance.
Hmm.
So therefore we have to go back to the original meaning of things. That's just like this word. A lot of people don't like me to say this, but the truth is what it is. Because one thing that I understand about regular people, they don't like different. Because they've been programmed so much that they're looking for that same old energy to support their ignorance. But this word that we call, that most of us fighting, arguing over, and so forth, is this word God. If you look at the original meaning of God, God means man. It means mind, the high level mind, our reality. That's why the ancient leaders say, when you see me, you see the Father, for I and the Father are one. Now, if I qualified myself to go to that level, then I can say the same thing. And not only say it, but mean it. Not only mean it, but show you. You should be able to see evidence of what a person is saying to qualify what they're saying. If you don't see no evidence of it, don't go for the hype. See, so we have to get into our reality. We can't expect these schools to give us what we need to be the eagles that we are when we go into the school for chickens. Even though both of them are birds, but they're different kind of birds. Chickens got feathers and can't even fly. But the eagle can fly as high and soar for days without coming down. That's us. The nature. We studied the nature of a thing. A lot of people thought that we was worshiping the sun and worshiping these animals. No, we understood the essence of it, which is related to our essence, because we were given the right to name everything that exists. We are the only beings that can bear witness there is God. Why? Because when you look into the mirror, there it is. So thank you for sharing that, brother, because that's a deep thing. And we need to come together because all of us have something to offer. No one knows it all. But guess what? Once all of the brothers come together and share what they know and what they've been blessed with and the skills that they're operating from, look how big everybody become. So why are we hating? Exactly. Because we've been taught to hate self. So when you look in the mirror, you should see two things. You should see your physical image, and you should see the image and the likeness of God. Because a lot of us were thought we were ugly, and you're nothing, and stuff like that. But I just want to throw it out there, family, because that's our reality. All of us have something to share, and I'm not afraid to share. What good is it to have it and have no one to share it with?
True.
You see, so I'm willing to share what I've been blessed with, the hell that I went through to get it, so you won't have to go through the same hell. I'm going to give it to you freely. That's what you call true giving. We can't afford not to give because the average person think that giving is losing. So with that in mind, warrior, and I really appreciate you more than you know, brother. And when you mentioned Schomburg and the Apollo, there was a recent visit of mine.
Okay.
I visited there recently, and I felt the energy and the spirit of Harlem, of our people, because we are Harlem. Harlem is a mindset, not so much a place, because we validate everything. Everything that's good, we validated, brother. Everything that is wicked, that's somebody else's stuff. And they forced it on us. But because that's why we have to develop our discernment to know the difference. Most people see everything the same. So, warrior, that in mind, put a roadmap of your success in writing and being an author and being a historian.
Okay. That's a multi-part question, because I would say I really didn't have a roadmap. I kind of you take detours. You go in with one purpose, and then you come out. You're like, okay, I'm gonna have to stop here, and I'm gonna have to go make this detour and go this way. So the thing is, when I started getting into history, right? I went into it with the express purpose of, okay, just kind of being like, okay, I have my I have my interest in history. That's for my own purposes, just for my own personal edification, right? But my reason for going into it was really career based, was to get out and become a teacher and do this, that, and the third, and all, and then go eventually do the tenure track thing and do the PhD thing, the whole, okay, the regular regimented program, master's, PhD, postdoc, all that, but the thing is, what happened with me, I have a little bit of a detour, right? The same year that I was scheduled to graduate, right, from finished grad school, that was the same year that the economy crashed, the 2008 economy crash. That wiped out a lot of opportunities for people. And I had to kind of look. I'm like, can you imagine, like, you're graduating, right? You got your, people say back in the day, your sheepskin. You got your sheepskin in your hand. It's set. Your name is on the scroll. This, that, and the third. And bang, like the economy just the bottom falls out. And I'm like, what do I do now? Like I got this whole college degree, and the field that I spent years in, because you know how degrees are. These degree programs are 4 to 5 years, right? You go in at one time, right, and then everything's hunky dory by the time you start, right? It's 0102. I started, cool, and then I came out. It was 08. I'm like, yo, like it's a completely different animal altogether. It's just like then I had to say to myself, you know what? Economy crashed. This is no longer a really opportunity for me in a way. So I had to, okay, I'm gonna have to change the plan up. I have to reconfigure. And I'm like, okay, you know what? That fell apart, through no fault of my own. It's just is what it is, the economy. Nothing I could do about that. So with that said, you know, I was like, okay, I have all this information in my head, all this knowledge, and it's not right to keep it to myself. You don't go to school for 4 or 5 years, right? Get a body of information, a body of work, a body of knowledge, and then keep it to yourself. That if I'm not going to end up doing the thing that I end up going to school for, I might as well use it for something else. And then, so with that said, I decided, like, after this took like a year now. This was not a quick process. From 2008 to, I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to be a teacher. That's not going to happen, right? So I'm like, okay, you know what? I can still write. Let me. And then '09 is like, okay, all right. After a year, like, let me just start a blog. Because back then, blogging was a big thing. And with that, so it kind of, after a year and a half, 2 years into it, I started getting really good with it, and I started not only garnering information from other people. I got my audience built up in Harlem, of course, right? But a year and a half, 2 years into it, right? Not only that happened, I started getting people from other parts of the country to read what I'm talking about, like whether it's Maryland, D.C., Virginia, North Carolina, folks from down south, even some folks from Chicago is reading my work, and I'm like, okay, this is what's up. So, like, then it's like, okay, maybe what I learned wasn't wasted. Maybe I didn't do the teacher thing. So now I'm like, okay, I got the blog going. So now I can go in a completely different direction. And then from there on out, I was like, you know what? Let me just go on ahead and see if I could put some of my pieces together and formulate a book. And it's just the matter of just, I had to study, right? I had to figure out what it took to put together a book. I had to study. I had to go in the library and get books about self-publishing. I had to go and either, I'm not gonna lie, there's sometimes I couldn't afford to buy it. I had to, like, borrow the book from the library and photocopy the pages. So it got like that sometimes. And it's okay. I'll go to the library, photocopy the pages, and then study the manual and figure out, okay, I need this. I need the barcode. I need the ISBN numbers. I need this part. I need that part. I need the copyright. That costs $35. This, that, and, this is, early, this is early 2010s prices. That's not the prices now. So be advised, but bottom line, I had to pull these things together, and I had to save money for, publishing my work. I had to, like, there was times where I took maybe $20 for my check and put that to the side for my publishing fund. Like, sometimes I would do freelance, like, articles, and, like, okay, I'll write this article for a local newspaper, and I was like, okay, you know what? Instead of me spending that money, let me just go ahead and just bank that and put it towards my publishing fund. And then after that, I started to like, okay, I'm really doing this now. So that's and then once I started going on the circuit with the one book, and I started kind of touring with the book in a sense, I did notice something, right? That even though I started as a blogger, right, the thing that I will say is that people take you a little bit more seriously when you're willing to put money and actually publish your own work. People take you seriously, and more so on the level than blogging, even though that's what got me to that's what kind of got me to the dance, so to speak. But I noticed that once I started putting on my own work and having the gumption to actually publish my own work, it kind of boosts me up to a certain platform. And I was like, and so that was like the beginning of this journey that I'm still on now. Fortunately, 11 years later,
Oh, that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, brother. That's very inspirational. And that just let me know that you are learning as you was going along. And in order to do that, you're going to have to be open and flexible. You can't let nothing break you
hmm
or cause you to crack
yeah,
and start leaking,
hmm
So, and also, what came to mind as you were sharing that is that what I share with a lot of people is you have to be able to create options. See, the true meaning of success is the individual's ability to create options so no one can box you in.
mm,
That's personal.
mm,
Never have a one way to do everything. There's many ways to get to the same place.
mm,
Let's say Broad Street. There's many ways to get to Broad Street.
mm,
So don't tell me you got the only way.
mm,
That's the same as religion, what they be saying about religion. Everybody think they got the only way.
mm,
Hey, if Broad Street is the spiritual destination, then the key is you have to find your way to get to Broad Street.
mm,
So when you get there, everybody got answers. So don't tell me you got the only answer
mm,
when all of us are there.
mm,
All of us have answers,
mhm,
even though we have similar experiences, but yet unique experiences.
mhm,
So don't tell me your fire is burning hotter than mine, and that. Well, everybody know what fire is. Even if it's a match or a bonfire, it's still fire. So everybody know that fire burns.
mhm.
So with that in mind, I like to say thank you very much for allowing us to go on that journey with you,
Mhm.
because I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, brother.
Mm.
So tell us what the things that you are doing.
Mhm.
How do you make that connection with that or create your legacy in reference to the youth?
Mm. Mm. Okay, that's a good question, Dr. Sadiki. I would say when connecting what I do to the youth is, I talk about the necessity of understanding history, right? And you know, the thing that I believe fundamentally, right, is that no matter what, right, if you're writing for the public, you've got to respect your audience. And by that I mean, okay, yes, I went to grad school and I studied this and I studied, all of these scholars. I've read C.L.R. James, and I've read Walter Rodney and everything and all that, and I've studied Fanon and all these different scholars. But the thing about it is that I realized is that even though I had the advantage to be able to do that, that doesn't give me the right to talk down to anybody, right? So, and that's the key, right? The key is that there's a difference between people when you're talking to people and talking at people, and folks can feel the difference whether you realize it or not. So, like, I even though I have that academic background and that training, I've had to kind of like kind of whittle it down and make it into something that people understand. Like, I had to try to had to I know how to read academic scholarships and everything, but when I speak and when I write, I don't write like that. So
Mm.
my way of being relatable and being and making people understand me is to just write in everyday plain English and break it down in a way people can understand. So number one, I'm showing respect to the audience and I'm not treating them like they're dumb. You know, and number two, I'm not coming from this condescending, like I'm above you. I'm here to save you. No, no, because you know, if I go back to the days before I went to college, things could have went a different way for me. So, but I'm all I'm saying is that, like, when it comes to the youth, and it's crazy. Like, I don't. It's funny. I'm kind of in the situation where I don't consider myself youth per se, because I'm like I look at people coming into college as youth. I'm like, okay, all right, you're just in the school and everything like that. But the way I stay grounded is I adjust, my message, and I'm honest with people about where things are going, and I point out how things are, and that's the best way to do it. And I don't use 16 syllable words, you know, as a way to kind of confound people. I don't do that. I mean, I'm not saying there's a place for that. There's a
Mhm.
place for that, but not with my stuff. I don't want somebody who didn't go to grad school to not be able to read anything I've ever written. I just don't want that, because that's in a sense that's not fair. There's already people who's talking at a high level, to whereas you have to like be able to like have read the dictionary from front to back in order to know what people are talking about. And you know, and if you're going to encourage literacy, you to a certain extent you have to meet people where they're at, but not keep them there. Meet people where they're at, and then raise the conversation up a notch. So that's how I you know pass the torch to youth in that way.
Oh, that's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful. In other words, once you have a level of understanding, you can relay it to whatever level of a mindset that you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Especially when you came through the ranks, we can always reflect back. You know what I mean? So that's why we have to pay attention to our journey and not take anything for granted. Can you sum up in a sentence or two
Hmm.
of what motivated you, or is it really that short? You can sum it up
So
like
in
that.
this, if
What
I
what really what really started you? What really motivated you to get into this writing thing?
mm,
Which writing deals with thinkers.
mm, okay, if I had if I have to summarize it in a very succinct way, I would say just just wanting to have a voice, just and then needing to put out a message out there that I didn't see anybody replicating, and I didn't see anybody taking the same angle that I would take, and there's a concept called decentralized media, right? And the blogosphere, social media, um, and all that is part of decentralized media. Um, and I consider myself part of that because of course there's the mainstream, the big three: ABC, CBS, NBC, and everything else. And then there's your local papers and your state publications and of course your national publications, and then after that is you know indie media. So I just saw myself as being part of that, and to get out and have a voice that I didn't see represented anywhere else.
Oh, that's brother. That's beautiful. In other words, be unique. Yes, you're really unique in your process, and you made it personal, which is a beautiful thing. Thank you for that, brother. And let me see. There's many things that I can piggyback on, but because of the
Mhm.
time's sake, because I'm feeling you, warrior. You know, one thing about warriors, we feel each other.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, and that's why we can relate. You know, so tell me, you wrote this book, man. This is a fantastic title, man. This is all that, and quiet with a loud mind. Wow, that is deep. Quiet with a loud mind. So you give us a little background on how did you come up with that, brother?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, okay. What motivate? Okay. The reasoning behind that title, right, is because you know, and it's very odd, right? Like I'm in my day to day life. I am not the first person. I'm not the most talkative person in the room. That's not me. You know, like I'll sit. I'll keep it. Cordial. I'll say good morning, good afternoon, how you doing, the second, third. But I'm not talkative. I don't. You know, and my thing is that sometimes people don't know how to take that when you're not talkative, and then people in general, people just don't know how to deal with introverts.
True.
And that's that unfortunate reality of things. And then people think that you're either plotting or scheming, or you don't like them, or this, that, and the third. And so but I'm kind of a quiet person. I'm off to myself and everything, but I have a lot of thoughts. I think a lot I think about a lot. In some ways, someone I could be called an overthinker, and I've heard that a lot. I've heard people say that about me, like, Mark, you're overthinking this, man. Like it wasn't that deep. So, I've gotten that too. And the reason is that, I just see things in a particular way. And the reason I wanted to use this title is because quiet with a loud mind means I am someone who who I'm reserved in speech, but you know there's things that I won't say out loud. But you see, if you watch one of those old cartoons and you see some the character with the thought bubble, you
Yes.
know, and
Yeah.
it says like a whole bunch of sentences, but they're just thinking it, right? But they're not saying it. That's kind of representation of who I am. I'm not the most talkative person in the room. I'm not the life of the party. I'm not going to work the room in the center. Everybody knows my name. Like it's not cheers. That's not me. I'm kind of off to myself, kind of bookish. I'm in the back of the library chilling. Reading the latest newspaper. You know, that's who I am. But I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm thinking like, what? Let me start talking about releasing some of these thoughts and unpacking some of these things. And that's how I came with the concept of quiet with a loud mind, like a person who is not necessarily going to be the center of attention, and he's not necessarily going to be able to make the keynote speech, but he's still going to have a contribution regardless.
Wow, wow, that's deep. In other words, when you open up your mouth, nothing comes through but power. Yeah, that's power. The power of expression, the power of word. And I can relate to where you're coming from, brother, because I came from that. I'm more talkative now because I acquired so much. You know what I mean? And you really want to share these things with people. You know what I mean? That's why I say, what good is it having to have no one to share with?
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, and they don't even have to go through what you went through to get it.
Yeah.
That's what you call true giving.
Mm.
So that's beautiful. And another one of your books,
Mhm.
man, you have some deep titles there, brother.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that goes to know that you are a serious thinker, that everything to learn and nothing to teach.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
give us a
Yeah. So yeah. I'm, I'm, I'm glad you said that. Thank you. So now that book, That's my second book. Now that book details, my journey from figuring out what I wanted to do after grad school. Like I got this degree, and I'm like I know all this information. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all this information. I studied. I got stacks and stacks of books in my living room, right? And I got this degree, and I'm like, okay, now what? And then and then it got to a point where I'm just like, dang, I'm in like a really unique position where like I know so much, but like how it's hard when you can't operationalize your knowledge and you can't like apply it. So I kind of feel like in a sense where if you're pardon the term, like smart for nothing, like the kind of person that's like so smart that it's almost to their detriment. And I wrestled with that for years, and this book was really about me coming to terms with what I wanted to do next, and me deciding that I don't want to pursue this track. I don't want to pursue the tenure track. I don't want to go on to get my PhD and postdoc and do the whole rigmarole. I don't want to do that with myself. So it was about me playing into the idea that yes, I have a little bit of formal education, but I still have a lot to learn about life, and how things are maneuvering. So that's why, like, even the title itself is kind of a way out that says, look, I've got a lot to learn. People can go to school and they didn't know everything. I don't. I have everything to learn about this. I have everything to learn about science. I have everything to learn about technology. I have everything to learn about astronomy. I have a lot to learn about a lot of different topics that I want to delve into. So, but that particular book was more about, me understanding that I wanted to choose the way for myself and say, let me just go this writer route and not do what was expected of me, the whole PhD, postdoc, tenure track, that kind of laid out plan for me because that wasn't what I wanted, and that this book was about me kind of figuring out the direction that I did want to go to. So that's the reason for the title.
Wow, that's deep, brother. That's deep, and I encourage people to purchase your books there, brother, because there's some deep stuff there. This is not no surface stuff. This is something that you got to dive into. And you being from the South, in which I'm from the South, even though I'm in Philadelphia now, but my roots go wherever I go. And that's how deep, how long my roots are. But I'll never forget where I come from. I'm originally from Virginia.
Okay.
I went to college in North Carolina, and then I transferred to Temple.
Okay.
On sports scholarships and all that kind of stuff there. But anyway, we can get into that too, but I don't even get into that really. Want to get into that, but because everybody have a story,
right?
Because everybody got a journey.
Mm-hmm.
But some of us think that our journey is more fantastic than everybody else's. I don't know how that's because everything is personal. So once we share everything, then we get to know one another, and you see all the similarities. Because when the other folks see us, they don't ask you how much education you got, how much money you got, what's your religion. They just look at this right here, and that's all this matters to them.
Exactly.
Now, if they go that way, why don't we go that way then? You see what I mean? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly. If a snake is a snake, I don't care how much you pray to God. God, tell that snake stop being a snake. God say, what you saying? I made a mistake? The snake has his purpose. Everything that exists has its purpose. And we have to understand its purpose, its nature.
Yeah.
Because everything that exists has its purpose. Everything that exists is moving. And if it's moving, it's changing. So why is it that we have more of a problem of fighting to stay the same?
That's
because of our conditioning. And we have to understand that. And once you get that level of understanding, you on your way to greatness. because understand is two words, under and stand. Once you know what's under what is standing, which is the root, then you know that thing. See, there is, so we got to be deep divers once again, brother. And I'm getting from you, you're a deep diver. And I love these titles, man. There's some deep titles that you came up with. This is not just a regular person that can come up with that, because it's deep. You know, and the more that you look at it and think about it, it goes deeper and deeper. And I see that you also write poetry and so
Yes.
forth. Man, you all that, brother. So what made you so, hey, well, what made you get into the poetry thing and all of this thinking, brother, and all of you a laid back, quiet person? So obviously you are a very observant brother.
Yeah. So, thank you for that. Like I started going to open mics and events in Harlem and everything. And like I want to say goodness, I want to say this was like what, like 07, 08, and at first I said nothing. I just listened. I just, was like, oh, I was supportive. I came through for my friends who perceived me in poetry and everything. Like, oh, Mark, you got to come out. I was like, oh, yeah, no, it's not my thing. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. I'll go on to see what it is, right? And then I was like, okay, let's stop through. And I'm like, okay, it took me a few months to almost like a year to figure out, okay, let me try my hand at maybe sharing a few things, right? And I didn't start it with the idea of, oh, I'm gonna get on, put me on, son, and I want to be on, want to be on Def Poetry Jam and this, that, and the third. I'm gonna go pop, and I'm gonna sell like a thousand spoken word CDs a month, and that wasn't my motivation. I just I just want to speak my truth and talk about what I've been through, and and be honest to what my experience is, and honest to my upbringing, and honest to what I went through and everything. Like even like I have kind of this. There are poems in my work that are autobiographical, right? And I talk about like my upbringing, and I talk about like my family and everything, and I discuss like my both my parents is from the South. My mother's side of the family is from Virginia, and my father's side of the family is from South Carolina. And you know when you're raised a certain way, like they had standards for me that was like so like I couldn't mess my life up for nothing. Like it's a lot of things that I couldn't even do. And like it was crazy, like, and like I said, born and raised in Harlem, but like I had parents that were kind of the traditional mindset, get in the house before the street light come on, like I couldn't go everywhere, like, and then you know what it's like when your friends could do this, that, and the third, and you couldn't go, and like, oh man, this you I was mad back then. It was
Right.
you can't go to this party, you can't go, and I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I can't, I'm not gonna be there. My parents not gonna let me do that. They're not gonna let me
Right.
mess up my life like that. But but really, when I look back on it, they were protecting me, because whether I realized it or not, that it was a different time. People don't realize that, right? That times were different. Like, this year I turned 45, right? I'll turn 45 in August, right?
Oh, all right.
And, like, but like I grew up in a certain era, like being 10 years old in 1989 Harlem, that was a different situation. I mean, there was movies about the Harlem of that time. I mean, even though some to a certain extent New Jack City is putting on, but some of that stuff was true. Some of that stuff it was that crazy. Like Amsterdam Avenue was a little wild back in the day. Broadway was a little crazy back in the day. So I had to come through all that and had to be like, okay, you can't do this, you can't go here. like, you know, like, sorry, your kid, like my dad was like, I don't want you start hanging out with that cat. I don't. Nah, you can't rock with him. I don't want your kid with my kid hanging out with my, you know, like that old school like way of thinking. Like, nah, like you can't go here. You can't go to this place. And you know, that's why, you know, I'm a certain way today. And you know, and I'll talk about it and I'll discuss it in poem, and I'll put it in a way that's relatable, and I'll discuss my, you know, the outcomes of that, and you know, and I'll be honest, because you know the most important thing about poetry is being honest, because you know, if you're telling the story that's not true, people will eventually feel that. Like, you're gonna talk about how you did this, you ran the block, you did this, and then you don't got no record to show for it, or you don't, the people don't remember you as being some kind of hoodlum or goon. No, like I don't, like, look, I was, you know, I was a certain way, and then, you know, I was kept out of that danger. I was the guy in the back of the library reading the video game magazine. That was me, you know. And you know, and my poetry reflects that. I'm not putting on airs about I did this, I ran the block, you know, I had this girl, that girl. Like, nah, that wasn't my situation. So, you know, so that's where my honesty in poetry comes from. Like, just being real with who I am and being my authentic self. And Black man, I have to be a thug. You know?
Oh, that's beautiful, brother. That's a deep story, and while you was telling those stories, brother, it was reflecting back on me. That same similar journey there, and we actually were talking about as a foundation community. Community is a structure where children don't have no choices unless you're given a choice. And that's what we need to recreate again, because children today have too many choices. And how would they know how to execute, you know, if you just got here? You see what I mean? Like the other folks, they let their children do whatever they want. Just support them. Well, they just got here. How would they even know what's this or what's that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What they need to do is just be quiet and start paying attention, because one thing, most learning comes through observation, not running your mouth. That's why you got one mouth, two eyes, and 2 ears. You listen is twice, and you see is twice. But yeah, we talking about community here, common unity. This is what we took for granted when we was given this false sense of integration. We became individuals, and we have to recreate our community, common unity. Because look at what's happening to our children, because we turned our backs on community, and we have the audacity to blame the children when children are foolish. What do you expect from a child but foolishness? So we have to create an environment that won't happen anymore. We got to go old school. We got to go Sankofa. We got to go back and get it. We got to remember where we come from, so we'll know where we at, and so that you'll know where you're going. See, we freestyling it too much. You know what I mean? We got to connect with the ancestors. We have to connect with the elders. You know, so because they have answers, they might weren't all this book smart the way we are today. You know, but yet they had life skills. I'd rather have life skills than book smart. You know, because if I have life skills, it let me know to read their book. You know, but if I think I know everything, I don't need to, you know, listen to anybody. You know, I think I know it all, but no one knows it all, because life is too big. So we need to honor and represent the ones before us by being a better version of them. We have to become a better version of not only ourselves from yesterday, but from our ancestors and our elders, because every generation should get better. But when you look at us, you kind of question that, because we've been duped into a mindset of selfishness.
Mm.
You know, when it's all about the team. Community means beehive. You mess with one, you can deal with all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to get back to that, but they divided us up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they took everything from us and gave a few crumbs to certain people, and they sold their souls.
Mm.
These so-called leaders today are not real leaders because leaders produce themselves.
Mm.
That's why when something happened to a leader, they chop them up and chop them down, and they're gone. Now everything stops.
Mm.
Well, who's going to step up to the plate? So the leader's responsibility is to recreate other leaders. But everybody want to be in the limelight.
Mm.
You know, and that's what the enemy wants us to do.
Mm.
You know, and that's why their number one thing today is to never allow a Black Messiah to present itself ever again.
Mm.
See, we're in a revolution, but the revolution cannot be televised. We have to make sure that we understand that where we come together, find a way to come together, find a way to come to the table with something that will contribute to our unification, our godliness. Because if we are the original people, what does that mean that we are then?
Mm.
If we came directly from God, then what does that tell you?
Mm.
But something happened. And we have to understand the power of the laws of the universe, such as cause and effect, the law of karma.
Mm-hmm.
And all principles come from laws. So we have to understand who we are and whose we are. You see, because we are more than what the eye can see. We are spiritual first, not physical.
Mm.
See how they flipped us upside down and taught us in school physical, mental, spiritual? No,
Mm.
they are physical. We are spiritual.
Mm.
And they know that. But when somebody know you better than you in trouble.
Mm.
You see what I mean? So we have to have our first responsibility is to know who we are, to know who I am. See, I am is personal. I can't say I am for you.
Mm.
I am is personal. I am is the name of God. So be careful what you put behind I am. So you see how we curse ourselves out of ignorance? I am sick. I am tired. I am dumb. I am this. I am that. We got to be careful with that.
Mm.
We got to be more conscious.
Right.
We got to be better thinkers.
Mm.
You see what I mean? And instead of going out there showing off and all this old kind of nonsense, acting like a buffoon, acting like an idiot, you know what I mean? Fronting and carrying on in front of people. You know, one thing about thinkers, they are laid back, they are always observant.
Mm-hmm.
They talk little, but they do a lot of thinking.
Mm.
They're processing things.
Mm.
So you got to be quiet to process. So, brother, hey man, I'm hearing, I'm feeling a lot about myself through you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? That's why I say, you know, if I know who I am, I know who you are. It's all energy, it's all frequency. And unfortunately, we are vibing at a too low of a frequency. We got to turn it up. Things have picked up, so we can't go to speed no more. We got to step it up, you know, and honor our creator and our glorious ancestors. So you want to seek something through life, seek the blueprint of our ancestors, the blueprint that the creator blessed them with. Let's make that conscious effort, that conscious connection, because everything is consciousness. You see what I mean? That's why if I know me, I know you. Only one energy, only one mind. So if I know who I am, if I'm a plumber, I know if you're a plumber. All I got to do is take you out for a minute. Like I tell people, I tell a brother, hey, he said he a plumber. I say, come on, we getting ready to do a plumbing job. Go get your tools. This guy comes with a hammer. I say, what you doing with a hammer? Where's your wrench? That's the first thing you get is the wrench. If you're a plumber, But we got these. Well, at least it's a tool, but it's the wrong kind of tool. So we have to know exactly how this thing go that we call life, because we are life. There is no life without the black man and the black woman, because we define everything. We give everything a life. We give everything meaning. Everybody know that, but most of us. And when you got somebody that know you better than you in trouble. You see what I mean? So no one's gonna know me better than me, love me more than me, respect me more than me, challenge me more than me. None of that. And everybody should be able to say that. And mean it.
Exactly.
You see? So self-preservation is the key to it all. What good am I to anyone if I'm all messed up? Because I have to have it to give it. So with that in mind, brother, all of these beautiful books and mind thinking kind of processing that, quiet with a loud mind. Wow. Who could come up with that with other things? And nothing to teach. Man, that's some deep stuff there. Now I'm giving you your prop because that's deep.
Thank you.
And that's why I say there is no love that's greater than a man loving his brother. The mistake that most brothers make is to go out there looking for a female to love him. You need to go out there and look for a female to respect you. You should love yourself. You know what I mean? And she should add to what's already there, not created. Not looking for a mate, and the female looking for a mate, and neither one of them qualified. That's why you got all this clashing going on, because we are out of order. We got to get back to the original ways of life. So therefore, we have to come from a frame of reference of those before us. We have to honor them and represent them, because we are them. We are the ancestors having a human experience. And every time a baby come on the scene, that's an ancestor revisiting. Come on, family, let's get deep here. We're too shallow today. So brother, I really appreciate you. Now, let me say this to you, brother, and ask you this. Do you have any final words that you can share with us that will motivate, inspire, and encourage us to go ahead on and move forward in a more organized fashion?
Okay, well, thank you. To those watching, I would say, don't let people intimidate you from speaking your truth. No matter what, if it's in your heart to write, to paint, to dance, to do whatever kind of creativity that you feel called to do, don't let any naysayers detract you from doing that, because if you do, you'll only end up hurting yourself in the end. And I say this as someone who's done this. I have a little bit of time in this in the writing field, and people try to discourage me and try to redirect me and put me on a bad path and give me horrible advice and misdirect me. And I've had to kind of put that to the side and say, no, this is not what I want to do. I'm going this way. I'm not going that way. So I'm saying this to you, speaking from a certain level of experience, that if you want to do something, if you want to be a creative, if you want to do a documentary, start the process. If you want to write a movie, start the process. If you want to write a book, do a little bit, each day. Like I'll say, like sometimes there's articles that I've written on my lunch break, and I'll say, okay, I got 45 minutes. Let me just get ideas together. And I'm kind of saying it to say that don't let anybody deter you from doing what you want to do with your creativity and with your life. And that's the best way I can put it. Don't let money
Keep
stop you,
trying.
or I don't have this, or I don't have this status, or my name ain't big enough. Don't let that stop you. Because if you do, years later you'll look back and be like, damn, I wish I hadn't let that stop me, and you'll regret it. And you don't want to. It's one thing to live with the regrets of how things played out because of bigger forces. It's a whole other thing to regret not doing something because you were talked out of it, or somebody talked fear into your plans. Is what they call it today. People talk fear into your plans, say, "Don't do this. You're not going to blow up. You're not going to do this. If your name is in the top 5 of black male writers, then there's no room for you." Like, okay, all right, I'm not trying to be the top 5 black male writers. I'm trying to be in my lane. I'm not going to be in the New York Times. Okay, fine, cool. I'm not. So my bottom line is, don't let people dissuade you from doing what you want to do, and move forward in the way that you want to do so. And if you do that, you can at least look at yourself in the mirror and have some self-respect.
That's beautiful, brother. I'm feeling you. So you telling me, when the minds come together, you motivate, inspire, and encourage each other to go to another level. And some thoughts be coming through, man, that you never even thought about. See, when a real people, they don't have to think about what they're saying. It just comes through. It's there already. All we doing is tapping into it. How do you tap into it? You connect with each other. You motivate and inspire and encourage one another to take it to another level. And life is about preparation. Everything in life is about preparation. You have to prepare yourself. Prepare yourself for what? Prepare yourself to be challenged. We're in this world. You have to be intentional about preparing yourself to be challenged. This is what I tell people. Prepare yourself to be challenged. Why? Because no one can catch you off guard. You're ready. Whatever. And even if you're not ready, to be like water on the back, it'll roll right off. Or you'll have your arm on, you might feel it, but it won't penetrate. You see what I mean? So we have to really do all we can to make a difference, and the black man have to take the lead. We are the head. The king's dome is what? His head. The kingdom of God is within. Within what? Within your head, within your mind. The king's dome. See, we got to understand the words that they play on us. We are the masters, creators of words, and we let the lowest level people, interpret everything for us. What a shame. And that's when you create a lot of regrets and a lot of resentments. See, a lot of people need to learn how to sit down and forgive themselves. That's the hardest thing to do, is to forgive yourself. Look in the mirror and forgive yourself. Lay your burdens down so that you can lighten up your load, so that you can move forward. Most people are burdened down. The hardest thing to do is to forgive self, not forgive somebody else, but forgive yourself. Even though forgiveness is a principle, whoever's doing the forgiving, you're the ones that's laying your burdens down. Man, you have no control over whether they accept it or not, but lay your burdens down so that you can move forward. See, there's a science to everything, and we are the scientists. We are the scientists. We define everything. We name it. We call everything. Why? Because our Father blessed us to be able to do that. We were the only people on the face of the earth at one point in time. Everybody else came later. They learned about us, and they took what they learned and flipped it on us. And now we giving them the glory. What a shame. And that's why our children look up to them, to us. Because they base it on things mostly Oh, they got all these things, so they must be all that.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to let them know, don't be deceived by things, because things came from a thought.
Mm.
Everything you see came from a thought. This is how powerful the mind is.
Right.
And all thoughts are choices.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? All choices is a seed, and all choices have a future. Where we are right here and right now is a result of our choices from yesterday, whether it was conscious or unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be more conscious. We freestyling it too much.
Mm-hmm.
We're acting like children. Children freestyle. We have to have a process
Mm-hmm.
that we're coming from. And I appreciate you, brother, and you are the process in my eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let us know, brother. We're
Mm-hmm.
coming to the end here, and this is a beautiful, a connection here, brother, that I'll never forget.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the highlights of my life, and I appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
How can people get in touch with you, or how can they contact you in reference to, you been speaking for them, or if you want to share some poetry with them, or even sell your book? How can people get in contact with you?
Okay. So the way you can get in contact with me, you can reach me on. I have two sites. I have my official website, www.markpolite.com. That's my official author website where you can get my books at.
Say that again.
It's called markpolite.com. And also you can visit my blog, politeonsociety.com. And in this year in particular, I celebrate 15. This is the 15-year anniversary of my site being in existence. Started in 2009.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. So, in addition, in addition to that, my two sites, you can reach, like, my contact info is on the site, so you can just go to the contact page and reach me via email that way. And if you happen to be on social media, I'm also there. I'm on Facebook at Mark Polite, and I'm also on Instagram and TikTok at Mark Polite, and on Twitter as well. I refuse to call it X. I still call it Twitter. I do not respect that man. I don't care if he owns the site. I'm still calling it Twitter. So yeah, so that's how you can reach me.
Okay, brother, man. Well, that's beautiful. Now, can you spell? I know you say www dot, and then you say Mark Polite. Can you spell Mark Polite slowly?
Yes. So that's
.com.
Yes.
Yes, sir. You hear that, family? There's a warrior who earned his stripes that we need to support, that he has proven and has shown evidence of him learning through his journey. And he's a very unique brother because he's coming from a perspective that is connected with our ancestors, because there's nothing new under the sun. All we doing is revisiting what is and always was and what always will be. This is the time of Sodom and Gomorrah right now. You Christians and all of you religious people, sometimes you're so religious you forgot to be spiritual. Why don't you open up that book and look up into the times that's going on now and see what God's children were doing then to protect themselves? Very simple. Open up that book. You be beating people across the head with. You know what I mean? And find out for yourself and make the adjustments, because one thing about knowing something is one thing, but executing it is the key.
Exactly.
So we got to be better at executing. Yes. So, brother, with that in mind, man, I really appreciate you, brother. And family, please support this warrior because he's on a serious journey of representing and honoring. And these are the kind of people that we need to be our leaders. See, one thing about a leader is a leader without boasting and bragging about I'm a leader. It's just like a man in a house. I'm the man, I'm the man. If you got to keep on saying you're the man, I'm kind of wondering if you are. Because everything is executing. The proof is in the pudding, not Jello pudding. We're talking about action.
All right.
So, family, thank you, brother. And, our mother, do you have anything you say to our young warrior before we close out?
Well, I was trying to get my face on this on the screen, but I would love. Well, I'm coming there. But Marc, I really, really thank you for being on the show. And I want to say one thing. From the moment I started reading your blogs, I knew you were special and you had gifts, you had insight. So seeing you is such a blessing. And I want to encourage you to continue writing. And I love that you're writing on historical events. So if you could do more of that, I think that would be like a gift to the world. And our children need to know our history because we are the original people. Everything came from us. This whole writing process, the pencil, the paper, all that came from us. We have the oldest libraries in the world, thousands of years older than anyone else. And we need to tell our children about that and to talk about Timbuktu and its importance to the world, because it's just the most magnificent gift that we've given the world, the ability to write our thoughts down. And I do too love the titles of your book. I mean, they're mind blowing. So we'll do whatever we can do to get your product out there. So anytime you want to come on the show, please just say so and we'll welcome you. I thank you so much. Your work is excellent and keep on doing that. And God bless you and keep you and make you more and more successful by opening our minds, because this is a time for us to raise our consciousness about who we are as a people. So thanks a million. God bless you. Thank you.
Yes. See, you're a true sense of it, an example of a warrior. See, I know a lot of people not going to give you your due, because a lot of people, if they give certain people their due, then they're going to have to check themselves out too. They don't want to do that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm acknowledging you. So therefore, I have to check myself out too. Besides acknowledging you to see if I'm on that path or not. And I'm not afraid, brother, because I know I'm there. So we're going to do this thing together.
And
Go ahead, Queen.
So I want to thank you. And one of the things I've enjoyed watching you today is when you listen to people, you go that, So that's that loud mind. That's that loud mind of you. It's operation. It's operating.
That's that old school. They say,
He's thinking about that. Well, let me think about that. Let me give that some consideration, or maybe not.
That's food for thought.
Thanks a million. Yeah, thank you. It's been wonderful.
That's what you call food for thought, and that's one of the books that I wrote. Is called Food for Thought. The things that we must eat. You see what I mean? So, and a lot of, it's a lot of things that you can learn from all of the things that we've put out, because they are blessings. And what we put out is bigger than ourselves. See, you can't be a team player if you can't be bigger than yourself. And a lot of people know good for the team because they can't get beyond themselves. So we have to understand. We understand it in the system. When you go to these jobs, you got to qualify yourself, the military. You even got to qualify yourself to go to prison. So, you know, in schools and all this other stuff, you got to qualify yourself. You know, so we have to qualify ourselves to be blessed through life. And you cannot fool life. And life does not excuse ignorance. It gives you an opportunity to check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's what they call in Christianity, grace and mercy. Called benefit of the doubt. And we owe that to each other because all of us been had. We owe each other the benefit of the doubt. See what I mean? And sometimes you got to be intentional because we were taught a lot about self-hate.
Right.
And if I look in the mirror and I don't like what I see, anybody who look like me, I ain't got to say I don't like you. I'm going to show you. And that's what we do. So we got to be careful with we got to reverse this thing. We got to go back and see where we made the wrong turn and go back and get it and bring it up and validate it. Yeah, we do. And and because we're not doing that at a big scale, we're losing our future, which is our children. A lot of it is not their fault. And a lot of how we are today is not our fault. But it is our fault for staying the way where we are.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So we got to get up and do something about it. And the black man have to lead the way. We have to get our respect back. We got to reestablish our position in this thing that we call life. There's order, and we have to understand the order of things. Not a matter whether you like it or not. It's a matter of, are you willing to cooperate and bring out the godliness that's your reality? Read the book of Genesis. That's when all hell broke loose. You ain't got to read no other books. Just read that first one. In the beginning, it tells you everything. It's all cause and effect. See, so let us stop being so religious and be more spiritual. So with that in mind, brother, I really appreciate you once again. And we thank the Creator and the ancestors for you because you're definitely representing and honoring. You're very honorable. And I thank your parents for even birthing you. When it's your soul birthday, it's not your birthday, it's your earth day. It's mom's birthday because she gave the birth. So on your so-called birthday, you need to honor your mother. Because she the one gave the birth, you didn't. That was your earth day. So this is our culture. We talking about us as a people. We are the eagles. You see what I mean? We are all that. But somebody flipped us upside down and turned us inside out. Now, there's one thing, last thing that I like to say, as I always say, and a lot of people know that Sadiki, man, to know a lot, man, and have no one to share with can be kind of crazy, like. But when I get an opportunity, I try to get in whatever I can quickly. Is that the 4 elements of the universe? The 4 main elements of the universe is what? Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. Now, when you look at the black man and woman, what's the 4 main elements? Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. So we are the universe. We are the universe individuals. This is like a grain of sand. You take a grain of sand off the beach, it's still the beach as the grain of sand. You get a cup of water out of the ocean, it's still the ocean in the cup. So we got to stop allowing people to separate us from our reality. And brothers like me and you, we're here, brother, to set the record straight, and we're not even scared. You know what I mean? We're manning up. You know what I mean? To fulfill our purpose. We're not just here, but we're here to fulfill our purpose. With that in mind, family, I'd like to say to you to continue to stay strong and keep your faith where it belongs. That's everybody's challenge. And do your best and let God do the rest. You got to know when to hold and know when to fold. How do you know when to hold and when to fold? You have to have a sharp discerning spirit to know the difference so you won't be using emotions. Also, keep your head towards the universe where all strength comes from and never give up and never, ever, ever, ever give in. no matter how things seem, because everything is, always was, and always will be in divine order. God don't make no mistakes, but we do. But when you learn from your mistakes, it's all good. And learning can be painful, but you can't beat the blessings.
Okay.
So, warrior, let us go ahead and do this thing together to save our future and our children. You know, they have no connection right now, and we must give them a connection. And the first giving is being the example, because seeing is believing. So thank you, brother, and may you continue to carry on, brother, and live a successful life and to fulfill your purpose. And right thinking, right giving, and right eating is holistic. We got to be holistic once again, and to be more honorable. And I thank Queen Mother Harriet for being the producer of the show. And I thank the God that I have the courage and the will to be the host of this show. I'm not scared, brother. My thing is, watch down the street, I even take the lead, no problem. Because if anything come towards me, I get it first, so no problem. Let's get it on. That's what real leaders do. They need the other alphas for success. So with that in mind, warrior, you continue to do what you're doing. I encourage you to continue on. You know what I mean, and to fulfill your purpose, and so you won't have no regrets. So have a blessing, brother. Peace and blessings, and may the ancestors and the Creator continue to lead, guide, direct, and protect you along the way.
Thank you.
Have a blessed new journey, brother. Have a blessed new revolution around the sun.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Peace.
All right then.
Peace and blessings.
All right.